Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're learning Nedarim Daf Zayin number 7. Great share for you. Today we're going to conclude our discussion about Yodos applying to things besides Nedarim and start a sugya about Nidoi, excommunication, if you've been in excommunication. So I'm sure you know all the rules. Some people think COVID was excommunication. One of the halachas about excommunication, no one will stand within Dalit Amos of you, which is approximately 6 feet. So I guess the whole world was sort of an excommunication during those 2 years of COVID. COVID still lingers in the world, so some people put themselves in excommunication, which the Gemara tells you allowed to do, and some people were forced by the government into excommunication. Let's get started. Top of Zion and Aleph, the first line, the end of the line. Yesh Yalit Staka and Yalit Staka by Tzedakah. We'll see in a second why they were think. A partial declaration is it considered a full declaration when it comes to giving tzedakah? Hechidami, it's tzedakah also. If you pledge tzedakah, even though normally words don't make a kinyan, when it comes to tzedakah, the Gemara in Shul, someone's calling the div late when it comes to giving an indava to the Beis Hamikdash for tzedakah. So your words are mechayev you, but is a partial declaration considered a full declaration? Oh, ein yalis tzedakah hechidami. What's the gazil lame with Amar Hadin Zuzil tzedakah? He says this zuz, this penny, this 10 agorot, this for tzedakah. V'hadinami, and this also, right? Hahut tzedakah atzma is about another shekel. He has 1 shekel, $1. He says tzedakah, another dollar. He says hadinami. This also hahut tzedakah atzma. Gemara says it's obvious the fact that he said it right after the declaration of the first one. He has $1 in front of him, and he says hadinami. That's considered a full declaration. He just says, after he says Harizul Tzedakah for 1, he says Hadain this. Below Amar Nami doesn't say also. My. What does he mean? Hadinami Tzedakah Amar. He's saying, do we assume there is a Yad? And he's also saying Tzedakah Amar. O Dilma, Ma'av Hadain Lenafkusa Ba'alma Kamar. Maybe there's no concept of Yodos by Tzedakah. And therefore, we assume when he says Hadain, he's saying this is for my monthly budget. V'diburu Dulaske. And he didn't finish his words. He didn't finish what he was saying. Miyam Rinan came with Iskash, right? If he would have taught his budget, he would have said this, and he would have said this is for my grocery bill. It doesn't say that, but still, there's no partial of Yodo, so we can't assume his partial declaration is a full declaration. Miyam Rinan came with Iskash Garbanos. What's the svara behind it? Why would we say there is or not? Miyam Rinan came with Iskash Garbanos, right? And the pasuk of Baal Ta'acher also references Staka, the Chsev, Picha, right? It says, with your mouth, Zeus Staka, the Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah. My Karbanos, Yesh Yad. So it's hookish to Karbanos also, Baal Ta'achar applies. Just like Karbanos, there's a Yad, right? The basic premise of Yados comes from Nazirus and Nedarim. Nedarim, a form of a nether, is a Karban. Av Staka, Yesh Yad. Staka also. Dilma the Baal Ta'achar, the Iskish. Or maybe the Hekesh is only Lamechsa, only partial, even though we don't normally assume Yesh Hekesh Lamechsa. Here, for some reason, we do. Baal Ta'achar this is only compared to Baal Ta'achar by tzedakah this Baal Ta'achar. If you pledge money, you have 3 regalim to give that money. So on posting you have to give it right away. It's not exactly there's Baal Ta'achar, but it's not 3 regalim. Only Karban is 3 regalim. So the Gemara says, Gemara has another question. The Gemara doesn't answer that question. You shall have hefker. Oh, Dilma and Yala hefker. Do we assume by hefker when I'm mafker or something, right? I make something ownerless. A partial declaration, is it valid or not? As far as I'm stuck, Hefker is basically the same thing as stuck. I'm giving money to charity, to a poor fund, not necessarily to a poor person. Hefker also making something ownerless. Sometimes somebody says, the structure of the question is the Imtim Salomar is dependent on the first question. Imtim Salomar Yeshal Tzedakah, that if we would assume that there is a Yalat Tzedakah, the Ein Hekesh Lamechza, right? The Hekesh Ficha compares Staka to a Korban, so therefore it's like a Korban in all respects, even the Gabi Yados. Hefker Miyamina Nahim Staka. Maybe Hefker is Staka. Oh, Dilma Shain Staka. Maybe Staka is there, and Staka Las Chazi Alaniyim. Staka can only give it to poor people. Hefker Ben Aniyim Ben Hashem. I just make something ownerless, a rich person. If I throw something in the garbage, even though it's a disgusting couch, a rich person who's very cheap can come and take the couch. Boy Ravina. Ravina asked a further question. When you're making a house, I saw this property in Israel. It was originally listed as $250 million. It went down It lost about half of its value in Caesarea. It was owned by some Russian tycoon or something like that. It's very interesting how it's a huge property. It only had 4 bedrooms. Usually mansions, big properties have a lot more bedrooms. Only 4 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, and 4 bedrooms. Which is interesting because you would think that one bathroom would suffice per bedroom. I would have made more bedrooms in the house. But this guy, he was into bathrooms. So he says he's making the house when it was under construction. He says this room is for a bathroom. Uh, so we'll see the case exactly. Although, do we assume there's no yellow? Once again, this room is for a lavatory, and this one also, right? Like the Gemara always says, when you were to say immediately after your first statement, Honami, that is not a partial statement, that's a full statement. He just said after this one. He doesn't say the word nami. This is also a bathroom. He just says this is for my pool room. I want to play pool in that room. He didn't explain. Kamar. And he didn't explain what he wanted to do. So then whereas Ravina, when he asked this question about a lavatory, about a bathroom, there's a concept of my words signifying this is a bathroom. They have effect that Zimun, it's like giving stucco. My words are binding. My words making something to Beisakise automatically make that a Beisakise, right? The reason it's important to know whether it's Beisakise or not is like the Gemara says in Brachos, you can't say Divrei Torah, you can't say Kriya Shema in a Beisakise or facing a Beisakise. So it seems from Rava that just by saying designated as Beisakise, it has in a Beisakise. But Ravina himself had a question in Masechah Shabbos. His minul Beisakise mahu. His minul Beisamerchas mahu. If he says this place is for a bathroom or this place is for a spa, mahu zimun moel ain't zimun moel. Does it work out? Ravina chada go chada kami boil. The answer is Ravina was asking one based on another one. Zimun moel ain't zimun moel. Like he said, Mr. Shabbos, does it work or not? If you do assume that it does work. Yesh yado yad we hold of yodos tiboyele. The Gemara answers for all these questions similarly. The Rishonim to understand there were about 5 questions. The Gemara says by kedushin, by peya, by staka, by hefker, and by sakise. 5 questions the Gemara wants to know: is there a concept of yodos or not? The Gemara, seemingly to all of them, says lo tiboyele. You could ask a question which is similar to the concept of teku. So, is there yodos or not? So, if yodos is a dindal raisa, so l'chora would be suffik the raisa l'chomra. You go l'chomra over here, and you would assume there is a yodos, there is a partial. We're going to talk more about suffik the raisa l'chomra in the ensuing Gemara. Munuda anilach Amar Abaye. Rabbi Kiya adds at the end of the Mishnah, he said Munuda anilach Rabbi Kiya heyachochiv was elahachmer. He was machmer by that. So, whereas Amar Abaye, mother Rabbi Kiya linya malchus she'eno loker. Abaye says, according to Rabbi Akiva, even if you say Munuda anilach and then you benefited from the guy's property, you would not get malchus. Even though normally you get malchus if you say this is a neder upon this piece of loaf of bread is a neder upon me, and I eat the loaf of bread, I get malchus. Bayachal dvara, you get malchus. Here you don't get malchus, according to Abaye. Well, let's discuss why exactly. He says, what's the proof for Abaye? He should have said you're machmir. If he would have said we're machmir, right? He didn't say he are machmir. If you are machmir, which seemingly would be subject to raisa l'chomra, you be machmir, so then you get malchus, which you're seemingly indicates subject to raisa l'chomra, you get malchus, which is hard to understand because if it's a 50-50 suffix, we're not sure what to do. You would give a person malchus or not? I mean, we have to investigate whether that's the truth or not. We'll talk about this more in Yud Ben Zion. If it's suffix hashakol, 50-50, would you give someone malchus or not? The Gemara says here, he says hayechoch was alahachmer. He was debating whether to be machmir. So it sounds like it's only the rabbanon, maybe he would say, but of course it's no malchus. But if it was a suffix the raisa machmir, so the raisa l'chomra, maybe you would get malchus. Hard to understand. 50-50 suffix, would you get malchus or not? Would we punish someone? The Gemara says in the Masechtas Kedushin that you give malchus al chazaka. There's an assumption, 75% reason to give him malchus, you give him malchus, but 50-50 you wouldn't normally give him malchus. We'll discuss this in a minute. Right? Chum and Rabbi Kiva have a machlokas by menuda, which is really a language of excommunication. If his language wasn't menuda, he says nidina, I'm detached from you. Everyone agrees, even the Chum agree, that's a complete neder. He's detaching himself. It's a neder. Misham matna minach. He said a different lashon of nidoy. Shmute, it's like an Aramaic word of putting someone in nidoy. Kuli amashari. Everyone agrees. It's just excommunication. Excommunication is not the same thing as a nidoy. Excommunication, you don't stand within 4 amos of the guy, you don't do business with the guy, you don't talk with the guy. People you don't like, right? There's certain people I have in my world that because they refuse to say hello to me, and even though they should be saying hello to me because some of them are family, but they refuse to say hello to me, so they don't say hello to me, so I don't say hello back to them, and we don't talk, we don't do business, and we don't go within Dalit Amos of each other. Make sure to stay out of 6 feet. Not exactly the last one. So then where it says, Chuli Amashari, everyone agrees. Your mutter, my plea, where's the machlokas right here in the Chum, top of Zion Amud Beis? But Menuda Anilach, when you say the word Menuda, exactly as our mission said, Rabbi Kiva Savar Lishna Deniduyo, it's Menuda sounds like detaching from you, and that's lashon of Neder. Rabbanan Savar Lishna the Meshamtana, it's a lashon of Shmute, which is clearly means excommunication. Upliga the Rav Chisda. This statement of Rav Papa argues on Rav Chisda. Though Gavra, there was certain incidents. A certain man came, the Amar Mishamada Benichse, the braid of Yirmiyah Bar Abba. He said, I'm gonna put myself in Shimute Nidoy from the possessions of this certain person, the son of Yirmiyah Bar Abba. He didn't really like him so much. Asked me that Rav Chisda, he came from Rav Chisda, Amar Leis Tachash, and apparently he didn't want to be usher to get benefit from his property. He was going to do a good business deal with him. Amar Leis Tachash Lahad Rabbi Akiva. He says no one holds like Rabbi Akiva. No one worries about the shita of Rabbi Akiva. It sounds like the argument of Rabbi Akiva in the Chachamim was even in a case of Mishamtan Allah. Chasavar, you see, Mishamtana Peligi, they argue in a case of Mishamtana. Amar Rabbi Ela, Amarav, we're going to start discussing now laws of excommunication. Nideo b'fana, if you excommunicate someone in front of you, ein matir lo b'fana, if you have to renounce that excommunication, you have to undo the excommunication in front of the guy. Nideo shelo b'fana, if you excommunicate someone not in front of the person, matir lo bein in front of and shelo b'fana, then you can matter people when they're in front of. Shelo b'fana. Amar Rav Chanan, Amar Rav Shomei askaras Hashem pi chavero. Someone let out Hashem's name in vain. He swears Hashem's name. Sarach lenadoso. If you hear this, you have to put him in nidoy. If you don't do that, who atzma yihim in nidoy? He himself is chayav. Other people have to put him in nidoy. Shkol makom shaskar Hashem mitzuya shama niyas mitzuya. Because if you say Hashem's name in vain, it brings poverty to the world. Vaniyas kamisa. And why is poverty so bad? It's like death being poor. Shnamar kimisu kol anashim. It says when Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to go back to Mitzrayim to save the Jews, it was reported that Kimesu Dasan and Aviram died, and they didn't actually die. Dasan and Aviram, they reappear later in the Torah and Parshas Korach. They just became poor. Another equivalency between death and poor and poverty. Anytime the Chachamim were angry about something, they put their gaze upon you. Either you died. If you didn't die, you became poor, which is like death. Amar Rabbi Abba, Havak Imna Kamei Rav Huna. I was standing in front of Rav Huna. Shamal Hachisa the Afka Askaras Hashem Levatala. This woman let out Hashem's name in vain. Shamta, he put her in nidoy of Sharla altar. Immediately he undid the nidoy. Sharla altar ba'apa in front of her. Shmaminat Tlas. We learned 3 things from this incident about what Rav Huna held. Like we said before, if you hear it, you have to have a nidoy. The fact that he was makbid to undo the nidoy in front of her, so therefore, if he does it in front of her, you put her in exclamation in front of her, you have to undo it in front of her. You could undo it right away, which is what happened. He was angry. He wanted to show her it's a bad thing you did. Put her in excommunication, but she'll learn from it, the mistake. So he undid it right away. You actually put yourself in nidoy, and Talmud Chacham should have the minhag of putting himself in nidoy before he puts someone else in nidoy. And he could even undo his own nidoy. Pshita, the Gemara says, why not? Why shouldn't you be able to put yourself in nidoy? The chiddush is that he can undo his own neder, right? If you're in prison, you can't get yourself out of prison. Someone else will take you out of prison unless you're like in that movie Shawshank Redemption where you dig a hole and you escape from prison. But most people can't escape from prison. So therefore, you think you can undo your own neder. Kamash plan, you could. Echi dami. What is an example of a Talmud Chacham putting himself in Nidoy and then putting the Talmud in Nidoy? He had the Marzutra Chassid. The Marzutra Chassid was a big rabbi. Mechaya Barbi Rav Shamta, when a certain rabbinical student in a yeshiva, he acted bad, acted improperly. In high school, the kid is acting improperly, he's selling drugs. He has an iPhone. I mean, the iPhone obviously is much worse than the drugs. So Shamta, he puts him in Nidoy. Mishamit Rav. Mechaya Barbi Rav Shamta, when Rabbi Rav was chayav to be put in nidoy. Meshamet nafshi bereisha. First, the principal puts himself in nidoy. And then he throws him out, he excommunicates him, he suspends him. Barbi Rav. When he comes home, Charlotte nafshi. When he comes to his house, he has to matter his own nidoy. Otherwise, people can't get next to him. And then he goes ahead and matirs the nidoy of the student, and he revokes suspension after one day. And he lets him back as long as you don't have an iPhone, only a kosher phone. Doesn't matter, but it could be, not the best filter. You can have YouTube, you just can't have maybe violence and pornography. So that's what I think the best filter is. If you don't have YouTube, you can't listen to my channel, you can't listen to my shiurim. So it's a mitzvah baba aveira to have a filter on your phone that precludes you from using YouTube. It's a mitzvah to have a filter on your phone, but it's baba aveira because you're losing on my shiurim. So. Anyway, that's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion. We discussed Malkus, Safek Daraisa Lachumra. If you did an Aveira, do you get Malkus or not? The Gemara is not really clear about this, but it does mention in other places. The Gemara alludes to this over here on Zion and Aleph in the bottom. Let's talk about Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.